H-1B visas, they're getting a lot of attention. Let's talk about them and break it down. Albert Einstein, Elon Musk. Do we want the next one of those folks to go somewhere else, maybe China, to make their company or develop the theory of relativity? No, I want them here. I want them in the United States creating jobs. But there's a question. The president posed this the other day. Does America lack talent? Let's ask Shark Tank's own Kevin O'Leary to answer that question.
I do think the H-1B program needs some attention. It needs some degree of reform.
Abby, do you want the next Einstein to come to America or to Shanghai? What do you want?
It's about fighting for talent and people that are brilliant.
I'm not fighting against an H-1B visa, folks. I'm the daughter of immigrants. Both my parents are naturalized citizens of this country.
So you should be for bringing people here.
I am saying there are real concerns that people have about companies that abuse the system.
We're talking about genius, bringing 65,000 geniuses to America.
Kevin, you know that it is not just geniuses. Sometimes they're abusing the system and sort of bringing in medium to low wage workers to.
Now think about that. I mentioned Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, thousands and thousands of U.S. jobs in manufacturing here in the United States. Not somewhere else, not in South Africa, not in Europe, not in China, here. Einstein, think about what he has done to bring science here to the United States and make sure that America was the foundation of all of that great stuff. If it wasn't for some of the best and brightest in Germany after the end of World War II, NASA wouldn't have even been created. Not always the best story, but it's an interesting fact. Getting the best and the brightest to the United States has always been part of our history. So here's the interesting thing. The president, as I said in an interview with Laura Ingraham last week, had some interesting takes on this. Take a listen to the back and forth with Laura.
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Now, here's a question for you. Is he right? Can we build batteries and missiles without talent from the United States? Here's a friend of the show, Batya Ungar-Sargon, with what she thinks we should do.
The H-1B visa holders who come in here, they are not specialized. They have no talent. You know what their talent is, Megan? They're willing to work for $50,000 a year. Exactly. They have driven down the wages in STEM, which means that our brightest kids are not going into STEM, because what are you going to do? Like, graduate after 4 years with student loans and take a job where you're making $50K? You're not going to do that. So we're actually driving our brilliant Americans out of STEM because we're importing Indians to do those jobs. It is so atrocious and terrible, and it is such a betrayal of the American worker. And this is a fight we absolutely have to have right now, because Trump has done an amazing job of attracting, I think the number at this point is about $15 trillion in manufacturing here, and everything around that. So much of that is going to be AI training and AI work, and we need to insist that every one of those jobs goes to an American. You know, again, like, people ask me a lot, what is the correct number of immigrants into America right now? And my answer is kind of the same, Megan. It's somewhere close to zero. Like, it might not be zero. There maybe is another Elon Musk out there who really wants to come here. But right now, we're just bringing in, bargain basement programmers, when those could be middle-class jobs for American workers.
Now, here's the thing that's interesting about this argument, because I don't think it's black and white. When you look at these big job recruiters like Indeed and ZipRecruiter, so many of these jobs that H-1B visa applicants are taking are entry level. So not all jobs are created equal. There's a big difference between some of the things the president's talking about and some of the ways in which these visas are actually being used. 80%, in fact, are entry-level jobs. This is what Will Cain had to say on this.
700,000 H-1B visa holders in America. Now, who is coming to this country to take these high-skilled jobs? As I mentioned, STEM fields dominate the occupations. And most of the workers come from India. In fact, 70% of H-1B visa holders come from India. Another 10 to 15% come from China. 80% of H-1B visa approvals are for entry-level or junior-level jobs. That's a little hard to stomach when we hear that we're not talented enough or that we're not skilled enough for these jobs when you consider that most of these jobs are actually at entry or junior-level jobs. And it's definitely to the benefit of corporations, tech companies that can hire foreign workers, trust me on this, cheaper than American workers. This is laid out, by the way, by billionaire tech entrepreneur Palmer Luckey.
There's so much H-1B abuse. You would not believe what I saw when I was in Silicon Valley. It is insane. It's obviously a program to try and replace U.S. workers with basically slave labor that can't ever escape. The H-1B abuse is crazy.
Now, look, like so many other issues, I don't know that the answer is as simple as some of the folks want us to believe. I've argued before that what we should do is probably tighten the pipeline for H-1B visas to really focus on those jobs that we currently don't have people at the high-tech, high-wage level to do. But we also need a pipeline to make sure that Americans will eventually take those jobs. The president's developed great relationships with some of these big tech executives. My answer is to think about potentially creating a massive pool of apprenticeships and educational opportunities funded by big tech, the main users of these visas, to ensure that America has a pipeline, an educational pipeline to apprenticeships and education that will allow Americans a pipeline to take those jobs eventually. But I don't know that it's as black and white as some of the folks on this side think. I want to know what you think. Leave me a comment below.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.